What's up, everybody? Welcome to McWater's Effect. I am Matt, and today we're going to be checking out a video with Steve Bannon talking about Trump going and running for a third term. Now, I tend to think this 22nd Amendment is going to make that impossible, but he seems to think that there's a leeway there somewhere in that amendment that allows him to do it. Now, I also think this might be a troll because he likes messing with the Democrats anyway. And I think him and probably Trump are working on this in order to just drive them crazy, but I could be wrong. The other thing also I want to mention is, you got to remember when Trump, at the end of his term this time, he'd be 82 years old. I'm not sure if he would want to run for a third term or even serve for a third term. He might just want to go and retire and play golf. I don't know. That's just my thought process. But let's go ahead and check out this video.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump...
Here's my first question for you guys, if you could comment down in the bottom. If Trump was on the ballot in 2028 presidential election, would you vote for him or would you not? In my opinion, since I'm a Republican and I'm also a part of MAGA, if he's nominee for the Republican Party, absolutely I'm going to vote for him. But I'd like to know y'all's opinion. Comment down in the bottom.
Will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particular.
That comment there, I think a perfect example of what he's talking about is what happened on July 13th, 2024, and the attempted assassination of him, and how, in my opinion, it was an act of God that allowed him to survive that. I mean, all of a sudden his head turns and the bullet misses him by less than an inch. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And if you don't contribute that to God, I don't know what to do for you. I know a lot of Democrats and a lot of atheists are going to say, oh, it's just plain luck. I tend to look at it differently. But if y'all look at it the same way I do or like they do, just comment down on the bottom. Let me know.
Religious. But he's an instrument of divine will, and you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me in the last few minutes. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's on his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through Zanny and define all those terms.
Okay? But even if you find a way to undermine you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it. And
first thing, it's not like politicians or both parties haven't done that before when it comes to undermining the spirit of an amendment. Perfect example is the Patriot Act that undermines the First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Eighth Amendment, and so on and so forth. Not only that, the Democrats undermine the Second Amendment all the time in these big cities. So that's just not a very good argument, in my opinion.
To those
can the American people, if the American people, with the mechanisms we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up? Well, would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution, ma'am?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not.
What? No, if he's elected, that's not a quasi-dictatorship. What that is what Democrats call democracy, but what we would call part of the apparatus of the republic. The American people would choose him as president again. Now, the question is there a way they could get around the 22nd Amendment? Now, there's several things they could do legally that I know of, such as Convention of States resolution, or get the House and Senate, get 3/4 of votes to change the Constitution. If you could do that, then you could change the 22nd Amendment. Here's the problem. Democrats are not going to vote to actually do that. So he's talking about some other method. I'm not sure what it is, but let's go ahead and keep on listening.
Not true at all. Trump
That's what it sounds like.
It's not. Trump is a dictatorship. Did you just see the compromises he had to make on the big, beautiful bill? You see the compromises he has to do on everything, on accommodating Zelensky, on what President Trump. President Trump is nothing but a series of negotiations to kind of keep this thing rolling forward, where he's having trade-offs all the time.
Steve, you've just spent the last 20 minutes telling me we have to smash the other side. There's no room for debate. There's no room for compromise. We must smash them. And now you're telling me this is a negotiation. I mean, that's
no.
I guess that's why it seems to me some kind of tension
First off, the only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people. Okay?
I think another thing he forgets to add also that he has to deal with is all these activist judges that are stopping every single thing he wants to try to do or try to stop. And then they get turned over by a higher court. That's absolutely insane. You don't see that with other presidents. Normally, the Republicans don't fight it like the Democrats have.
And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started. And President Trump is the instrument, a providential instrument to finish that, to finish this job.
All right, guys, that's the end of the video. I tend to think, in my opinion, this just, like I said at the beginning, it is one of the biggest trolls I've ever seen. That's tend to be where I'm going with it. But he's obviously somewhat serious because every interview he does, when he gets asked this question, he says the same thing. He's actually somewhat, I think, ready to do something about it and look into it and try to make sure Trump could actually have a third term. Now, we'll see what happens here. I don't know if that's actually going to be possible, but hey, you know, I didn't think it'd be possible that Trump would be doing the things he's doing right now when it comes to fixing the United States, but he is. He's getting an opportunity to actually do things that will help the American people in the long run. Now, obviously, we're hurting right now because of inflation still going on and stuff like that. But the thing is, that was all caused from Biden and what he did while he was in office. And Trump's trying to do everything he can to fix it and to make things better for the American people. But I think a third term for him, in my opinion, I'd like to see a younger generation coming in and take over for him. I think there's people like Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Brian Donalds, even Viv Ramaswamy. You know, these people right here are the future of the Republican Party. And in my opinion, I think it's time for new blood to come in. Don't get me wrong. Trump can come in there and give them advice and do everything he can to help them be successful. But I think Trump running in 2028 is unlikely. But I'd like to know y'all's opinion. Comment down the bottom. Don't forget, hit that like button, comment, and share this out to everybody.